Making problems disappear. Here's the question. What's going on inside the minds of top achievers that cause them to make extraordinary breakthroughs both personally and professionally? My name is Tim Shurr, and I invite you to join me as we take a deep dive into the unconscious mind and discover how to transform your biggest dreams into a reality. Welcome to the How to Be Mesmerizing podcast. Hey everybody, it's Tim Shurr. Welcome to the podcast, and today we're going to talk about how to make your problems disappear. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Tim. Welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited that you're here, and today I'm going to share some really great nuggets of wisdom that I have learned over the years, and I want to share them with you on how to make your problems disappear, and more importantly, how to get results faster in your life. Because at the end of the day, what do we want? We want to feel happy. We want to feel successful. We want to feel like we are living life on our terms and things are going the way we want them to, and we're feeling healthy and energized, and we have money in the bank, and we are engaging in activities that make us feel connected or that give us variety or that allow us to have a good time. And these are all important things. And so let's talk for a few minutes about what gets in the way. Now, one of the things that definitely gets in the way of us getting what we want is often the story we tell ourselves, which I've talked about a lot of times in the past. But these limiting stories that we tell ourselves and the reasons for why we think we can't get what we want. And those reasons often become our excuses. They become the bars in our prison that hold us back and keep us stuck. And so if you want to make more money, but you tell yourself, well, it takes money to make money, and I don't have any money, so I can't make any money. That is a reason that is holding you back, because there's lots of ways to make money without having any money at all. There are a lot of people that started out with nothing, like me, who were able to build things up. And even when I built things up, I had lost it all and went back to broke, and then didn't have any money and built it back up again. And so there's always a reason to follow through, or there's a reason not to follow through. And you have to decide what you're going to give more weight to, what you're going to strengthen and reinforce. There's an old story about two dogs that are fighting in an alley, and a student asks his teacher, he says, which dog's going to win? And his teacher says, probably the dog that has been fed the most, right? Because whatever dog you feed gets stronger. And so we want to make sure that we are feeding our reasons for success. Now, everybody wants to feel like what they're doing it for a good reason. We want to be reasonable people, which is why we have reasons for everything, right? Why'd you take out the garbage? Why didn't you take out the garbage? There are reasons that you will have for both. Why do you show up late? Why do you show up early? You will have a good reason for both, even if those reasons are not really accurate, even if they're lies, right? Oh, I showed up late to this meeting because traffic was terrible. Where the truth is, you showed up because you didn't give yourself enough time to get there on time. You were dilly-dallying around with something else, you made something else a priority, you were talking to somebody else and you missed your exit. So instead of telling the truth, we lie a lot of the time so that we look better, right? Just to be honest, so that we look better, or so that people don't get mad at us. And those, a lot of times, people will buy it. They'll say, yeah, I know traffic's pretty bad. And then what happens is it just keeps you stuck in that loop of not being on time and making this a priority and respecting other people's times, because, that's not cool. I'll give you an example. Someone scheduled me to be on their podcast a while back, and we were supposed to do this, and right at the last minute, they canceled on me. Right? Which is okay, but then they said, all right, let's reschedule, and then they just kept blowing me off. And so finally, I just got mad because I didn't feel like they were respecting my time. I mean, I'm a pretty in-demand guy, and they just weren't respecting my time. That was the rule that I had in my head, right? That's what I was telling myself when I got frustrated and decided I'm not being a part of their show. And that might have not been the case at all. Maybe they weren't trying to disrespect me. They just had so much other stuff going on that they didn't make it a priority. They weren't trying to make me upset. They were just they had other things that they did, and that was a choice that they made. Okay? So we both had an opportunity to make another choice. Now, I could have let that go as well, but I figured they've done it twice in a row. I'm not going to set that up again, right? Plus, it's a learning lesson for them that they need to respect their guests more if they want to have guests. And so I was trying to just give them some learning advice as well. And sometimes, a lot of times you learn the hard way because the pain helps you to remember the lesson. Pain can be a gift. It helps you to remember the wisdom that you've learned. You just got to make sure that what you're learning is really, you're going to use it as wisdom, and you're not going to use it as a reason or justification to hold back in the future. So then, ironically, a couple months later, I have my podcast, and I accidentally did the same thing to somebody else. I was supposed to get back to her about our date for the podcast. It was right before the holidays. I got super busy. We were emailing back and forth through LinkedIn, which I hadn't been on LinkedIn. One of the challenges with social media is that people can call you, text you, Facebook Messenger you, leave a comment on your Facebook or YouTube or Instagram sites, send you a LinkedIn message, and assume that you're seeing all these messages, right? When I am not seeing a lot of these messages because there's too many of them all over the place. And so I wasn't in that LinkedIn app very much right before the holidays, and as a result, I didn't see her response, which was my fault because I should have stayed in better contact with her. But when I showed up and apologized, then she was having her feelings for, feeling I didn't respect her time. And it was just the opposite side of the coin. And I thought it was so interesting that someone had done that to me and I didn't like it, and then I turned around and did it to somebody else. And it's really interesting because a lot of times the things that people do to push our buttons are often the same things that we're doing too. We just don't see it. And it's why it maybe pushes our buttons. I tell people all the time, I had a seminar this morning and I said, instead of trying to change other people and trying to get them to stop pushing your buttons, what if you just get rid of your buttons? They can't push them if you don't have them. And that's where your real power is. You can't change people, but you can shift your buttons and you can change your response to people. And that's where your real power is anyway. And so she was upset, and because I had this experience, I did not show up with reasons or excuses or justifications. I showed up saying, I am really sorry. Your time was worth more than this, and I really apologize. You deserve to be treated better. And I want you to know that if there's anything that I can do in the future to help you or support you so we can make up for this, you just let me know what you have going on, and I'm going to put it out there for you, no strings attached. It's just my way of making up for this situation, and I really apologize, and I hope you have a great day. And I came across with no reasons, no excuses. And now, I want to caveat that with before, I would have had all kinds of excuses. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the holidays, I didn't open up LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't. I owned it. And I got a response back from her. And the response was, thank you, I really appreciate that. I hope you had happy holidays. So it was a very good response, right? We didn't reschedule the podcast because we weren't ready for that, but we were able to leave on good terms. And if she ever needs anything, I'm going to support her and help her and stay true to my word, which is very important if you want to be seen as trustworthy, especially if you just accidentally messed up that trust. The goal is to build it back up again, not just hide or disappear, which was another thing that I used to do. If it was uncomfortable and it wasn't good, then I just cut it out. I just try to get away. But that's an avoidance strategy, which means that you just end up repeating the pattern again in your next relationship over and over and over. And that's not a good way to be mesmerizing, and it's certainly not a good way to find peace and happiness. You've got to work through your uncomfortable situations and issues so that you can experience peace. But you're never going to experience it from avoidance or from being angry or from holding resentment and anger in your heart, because that stuff just is another prison bar that will keep you from that peace, happiness, joy, and inner security that you may be looking for. Or if you want to feel powerful, right? Sometimes people just want to feel powerful because it's an overcompensation for feeling insecure or for not getting that approval from parents when we're little. But but if you just want to feel powerful and significant, you can feel powerful in this way too. I have the maturity to be able to be really vulnerable and honest. Unfortunately, most people don't have that kind of maturity, and they just want the power because they want to feel super significant, and so they're using force instead of real, true, authentic power and vulnerability. They're just using force, which is, a real sad way of doing it. We have a president right now that's doing a lot of that. Whether you love the politics or not, the person and his leadership approach is pretty sad. It's a lot of desk pounding and pushing the face up, or pushing the chest out, and my way or the highway. And unfortunately, when people have had success being a certain way, that becomes their one tool. And not just for presidents, but for any of us. I've seen preachers do it too. Right? So I've done it too at times, where if I was feeling insecure or threatened, then I would try to be smarter. One of my coaches used to call me a smarty pants, and I would start to feel threatened. I would try to be real smart, and all I would do was come across arrogant, and it was keeping me from feeling peaceful or fostering those happier, more authentic, loving, empowering, mesmerizing relationships. So I've done a lot of growing up over the last 30 years of my life, and I'm sure I have more ways to grow and mature and continue to be the kind of person that I'm proud to be. And so when we talk about achieving our goals and we talk about those reasons, a lot of times you got to ask yourself, why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? What rules do I feel are being broken right now? Why do I think that everybody has to be the way that I think they should be? Right? Why can't people be the way that they are, and I'm okay with it? And I can send them peace, and I can find a way to feel comfortable regardless of how they act. I was leading a team meeting one time, and one of the leaders was like, there's this one person, everybody's getting, feeling good, and then there's this one person, and they just seem so defiant. It's like we're all putting salt in there, and they just want to be the pepper, and they're always just being defiant, and it just brings everybody else down. And I said, well, what is the outcome that you want from this? What's the expectation you want? And they said, well, I want everybody to grow. And so, what do you think's happening? And they started to realize that they had this expectation that if everybody wasn't growing, that they were being disrespected as a leader, and that it was going to mess up their ability to grow. And I said, so you have to have 100% buy-in and compliance for people to grow? I mean, so 100% of the time, everybody has to be on board for a change to happen? I mean, that's pretty unrealistic. I mean, I don't know anything that's 100%, right? I don't know any team that's, always 100% in agreement. I don't know any family that's always 100% in agreement. I know every night at bedtime, there's not 100% agreement for my 11-year-old. We want him to go to bed. He wants to stay up all night. There's not 100% agreement, but we can still find a way to make sure that we stay relaxed and resourceful, and he gets the rest that he needs. And so I helped her start to reframe things so that she started to look at it differently, right? You can have one person have an aha moment and an aha breakthrough, just one person, and that can be a success. If I'm in a room with 50 people and one person, I touch their heart and they have a breakthrough and it improves and enhances their life, that's a win. That's awesome. If I can just connect with one person. Now, I want to connect with everybody, but I've learned that you can't make everybody happy, no matter how much I want to. It's not in my control. All I can do is share it, and then hopefully people will be ready, and sometimes they're not, no matter how persuasive I may be. And that's okay. They don't have to be that way, right? I've learned that my attitude and success is not determined based on how somebody else is feeling. Now, my job often is to influence the way that they're thinking about things so they do feel better, and I've gotten really good at that. But at the end of the day, everybody has to have buy-in, and you can't control it. If somebody else is just not going to change, then in a cultural situation at work, if somebody is just not going to change and they dig in, often when we're really growing the values of the company, they end up leaving because they're not living up to the values. They don't like the energy anymore. It's higher than where they're resonating at, and they often leave on their own, which opens a door for somebody else to come in that does share the vision and the values, and then it just makes the whole team stronger, which is pretty awesome. If it's a company where the boss is the problem and they own the company or they're the president of the company, then often what people do is they leave that company and they go find another company that has a better culture. And so we're not stuck, even though we tell ourselves, oh, I'm handcuffed to this situation, I feel handcuffed. No, that's just a limiting belief. It's a mindset issue. It's not a handcuff issue. It's your reasons that you're telling yourself for why you're stuck. That's what's making you feel stuck when you're not. You are a powerful human being, and you have incredible ability, and it's just learning how to tune into it, how to turn it on. And most people have just never been taught how to do that, so they don't even know how. So instead of thinking, I don't know how to do this, they're thinking, this is just the reality. This is just how it is, and you're a fool if you don't see it, which is a lie, right? It is. Now, sometimes the situation, there is a reality to it, but you still have your ability to choose how you look at it, how you interpret it, how you feel about it. And those decisions determine whether you get stuck and quit or you find a way through, whether you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, whether you are avidly learning or you are stuck in your own ways because you think this is how we've always done it. So I hope that as you listen to this, some buttons are being pushed inside of you and you're thinking about a bunch of things. And my real hope is that I say some stuff and you have to rewind this over and over again because I got you thinking about so many different things that you got to keep hitting the rewind button, right? Jump back 15, 30 seconds over and over again and listen to these different parts, because the things that I've shared in the last few minutes are really powerful, life-changing, game-changing nuggets that I've learned from studying all kinds of amazing people, and that I've tested and tried out and used in my own life, and then used it with thousands of people in their lives. And the stuff I'm sharing with you, this stuff gets you the best possible results. It's the most mesmerizing tools out there, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. So again, take a look at the reasons for why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. So when we go back to that leader who was feeling like they couldn't have a successful outcome unless everybody, including that person who felt a little, we were calling Pepper, right? If that person, didn't change or didn't act a different way, then we couldn't either. And that is the great lie, right? Because we can behave any way we want. Now, one of the learnings that came from that was that the leader said, when I'm watching this person be defiant or not be bought into what we're trying to do, then everybody else starts to, starts to bring them down too. I can see it on them. And what I did was I showed her, I'm not going to go into how I showed her yet, maybe another podcast, but what I did was I helped her to realize her blind spot. Her blind spot was she was feeling a lot of pressure and frustration too. She was feeling like she was getting brought down. And in her mind, she thought she was hiding it real well by biting her lip and holding it in. But she wasn't. Her body language and her energy was showing clearly that she was frustrated. And that everybody wasn't just reacting to that person, they were reacting to her. They're like, man, if my leader can't handle this person, how are we supposed to? And so they were getting feedback based on her. She didn't know that. That was one of her blind spots. She thought she was doing a great job as a leader of hiding it. But when the whole group, when the other 28 people in the room said, oh yeah, it's pretty obvious, you're biting your lip, you're all tight, she's like, really? I am? I mean, most of the time, we don't have any idea. When we're in it, when we're in the feeling, when we're in the emotion, we don't have any idea really of how we're coming across to others. We can't see the label when we're in the bottle, as one of my great mentors, Scott McFall, used to say. You can't see the label when you're in the bottle. And that is so accurate, right? Because we feel like we're just in this story, and this isn't a story, it's reality. And if anybody doesn't see it, they're an idiot. They don't see it that way. If you ever say that to yourself or think it, that should be your first red flag that you're in your box, right? That you are in a limited story that's keeping you and other people stuck. And if you're like, I ain't stuck, I'm successful and I'm crushing it, well, you're not crushing it anywhere near how you could. The potential of what you could do and the force you could be in life is incredible. So, and you're not leading other many companies you run, you have even more potential inside of you. You don't even know. Remember Scrooge or the Grinch? They thought they were powerful and wealthy and successful, but really, when you look at it, it didn't really seem that way. They only had pieces of it. And once they realized that, and they got connected with their heart, and they had the breakthroughs, and the awareness, and the feedback, and the reframing, they were able to step into a power that blew away anything that they had accomplished previously. And you can too. No matter how rich, successful, powerful, how much people love you, how much fame you have. I mean, I've got a lot of really successful, famous people. And when I actually met them, oh my gosh, they were like, their personal lives, it was a train wreck. They're divorced multiple times. Their kids don't talk to them. People didn't like them. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And you start to see how scandalous they are. And it's just sad, right? Or how they really treat people. And it was pathetic in a lot of cases. Especially now with the Me Too movement and everything else, there's a lot of people that are being held accountable, that because they thought they were rich and powerful, they could do whatever they want. And I love the fact that they're being held accountable now. It's really great. It's the first time ever in our civilization as human beings that people are really being held accountable. Now, I know we got a long way to go, but at least it's starting to happen. I think that that's exciting. I really think it's great. And so, okay, so I don't want to get all political or anything, but it's really, the movement isn't political. It's about respect. Respect for other human beings. That's what it really is, being respectful. And so, okay, so once that leader realized how she was coming across, it was her energy and her reasons and her rationalizations and her perspective that was actually holding the situation back and not the other person. She immediately started to reframe it. And now here's the exciting part. What we did was we asked a more empowering question. And I want you to write this down. Now, if you're driving, you're going to have to pull over or listen to this again or just remember this. Okay? But here's the question. The question is, what do you want to have happen as a result of achieving this goal? What are you hoping is going to happen from you achieving this goal? So in this example, what she wanted to have happen was growth. What she wanted was everybody to play full out so that we could grow together, and then as a result, her KPIs, her key performance indicators, which can be, for her it was HCAP scores, for hospital. It might be employee engagement survey scores, or how much you enjoy working here scores, or it might be you appreciate your leader scores. It might be some other measurement that lets you know that things are working. She wanted to get higher scores so employees and patients are happier, which is awesome. Okay? But ultimately what she wanted was to feel as a leader that she was creating growth. And she had this idea that if she didn't have everybody on board agreeing, that growth wasn't happening. And that's false, because growth can absolutely happen, even if just one person gets something out of it. So if her goal was growth, then the question was no longer, the problem was no longer, how do I get this person to stop being so negative? How do I get this person to start being more supportive? How do I get this person to act more like me? That's not the problem anymore. That is an irrelevant problem. The real problem is, how do I create growth so that after every meeting, I feel good about myself? That's the real question. The real question is, how do I show up with a growth mindset? That's the real question. That's the real problem to solve. Now, this podcast is titled, How Do You Make Your Problems Disappear? This is how. That problem of how do I get this person to change is no longer the problem. That's not the issue anymore. The issue is, how do I show up resourceful and engaging and excited regardless of what others do? What's one thing I can do to shift my energy? What's one thing I can do to change my buttons? And of course, we were changing her body language. We were changing what she was focusing on. We were changing what she was saying to herself. lot of stuff because I was in the zone. You know, when we get bogged down, when we start overanalyzing everything, usually when you're in the zone, your mind's pretty quiet, right? You're like, I wasn't thinking, I was just doing it. And so we got her body language being more free. And then, of course, when she was bouncing around, she was moving her shoulders around. She looked like she was this adorable little girl bouncing around. It was wonderful. And everybody was laughing and responding. She was breathing deeper, and everybody else was breathing deeper. And I showed her. I said, notice how everybody's responding now. You're being playful and relaxed because it makes you feel good. But the other result is that because you're feeling good, other people are absorbing that now, and they're feeling good too. See, you don't change people by changing them. You change people by changing you. And then they vibe off that new energy. Right? It's so amazing. We do it such the opposite way. We get stuck on trying to solve problems that aren't the real problems to solve. We get stuck on trying to change people when really what we need to do is keep upgrading our response. You know, in any relationship, there's going to be buttons that people usually push in one another because we tend not to attract our soulmates. We tend to attract our roommates, right? The people that are going to keep our old patterns and play with us. And so, unfortunately, that does seem to be the case. And then, hopefully, what happens over time, both individuals grow individually and then bring that to the relationship. And then the relationship becomes a mature, loving relationship where you feel like you have grown into loving your soulmate. All right? And that in itself is a real powerful nugget because most of the time that's not how it happens. Most of the time you go to a marriage therapist and they dig up all the family history and all the wounds from the past, and what happens is you leave each session fighting and yelling at each other even more, blaming fingers and not really owning your own stuff, and then saying this is what I want in the relationship, what I'm going to do to bring it, and then also this is what I know you want from the relationship now, not based on assumptions, but based on genuinely, authentically asking you and finding out what matters most to you and how you experience it, what you need to see or hear or feel to feel that way, and then that's what I'm going to do for you. This is how I'm going to create that and meet these objectives for you so that we are helping each other grow. That's powerful. This is what I want, this is what I need, and then this is what you want and what you need, and this is how I'm going to meet my own needs, and this is how I'm going to help meet your needs, and then get the other person to do the same. And when you're doing that, it's extraordinary. But often what happens is someone has to go first. And in my relationship, I realized that had so many issues, so many problems, so many limiting beliefs and poor coping skills that my wife has a lot of her own self-limiting beliefs, but in a lot of ways she is the most mature person I've ever met. Her way of looking at things is, it's some of the most extraordinary things. I swear I've learned more from her than all the other coaches that I've worked with. And so I realized that in order to feel more calm and peaceful and happy in our relationship, I definitely had to get rid of some of my buttons. I had to feel more calm and peaceful when she would react in a way that normally would set me off. And I had to change my response to whatever she was going through. And when I did that, that improved our relationship faster than anything else. Faster than trying to get her to be more calm or her to be the way that I wanted her to be. Instead, I focused on getting rid of my buttons and showing up in a more mature way. Being okay with conflict. And that was a huge breakthrough. And I'd like to say I still do that 100% of the time, but I don't. There's times where I still slip into it, and then I'm like, all right, I got to take a power breath, slow back down, start focusing again on the outcome that I want, which the real outcome is for us to feel happy and connected together, not how do I get her to not be so upset about things. That's the wrong problem. That's the wrong issue. I need to focus on how do we stay connected, and so in that situation, regardless of how she's acting right now, I need to show up being supportive and listening and understanding and not trying to solve problems, but just being supportive of her in those moments. It's an entirely different shift. And when I do that, it makes our relationship so much better. And then what happens? She actually does feel more heard and listened to and validated, and then she feels more calm, and then I get what I wanted to begin with. I didn't have to go the long way around, which didn't work anyway. I cut right through it by finding the real outcome that I wanted. Solving the real problem was how do I get myself to stay calm in stressful situations? And so I don't have to fix changing her. That's not the real issue. So that problem is gone. I don't have to fix my wife. My wife is awesome. Okay? I have to fix my BS beliefs. That's what I have to fix. And BS stands for belief system. Right? It can stand for something else too, and I know you know what I mean. So when you start to figure out what you really want, oh, that opens doors. So let me give you a couple more examples. So people come in and they say, I want to lose weight. Okay, if you have a weight loss problem, it's not a weight loss problem. You do not actually have a weight loss problem. And this is when people start to shut down and go, you don't know what you're talking about. I can't lose weight. I've tried to lose weight forever. I've been on every diet. Okay, you keep telling you those reasons that are keeping you stuck. How coachable are you? If you want to grow, don't go to someone for help and then just reinforce everything you already believe. That's a fixed mindset. You ain't going to grow at all. And you're never going to get what you want doing that. You have to have an open mindset. Remember, your mind has to be like a parachute. It only works when it's open. Okay, so instead, you might disagree with what I have to say, but hear me out first. Have the possibility. A growth mindset means that you're open to possibilities. Okay? Have the possibility of getting some new information, a new perspective, a new way of looking at things. Once you have more information, then if you still believe in what you believe, awesome. More power to you. But what if, just what if, the way you're approaching it is off? Now, how do you know if it's off? Because you don't have the result you want. I mean, that's a real fast way of knowing if how you're looking at the situation is valid or not. Do you have the result you want? Are you feeling the way you want to feel? And if the answer is no, then that's a clue, baby. That's a clue that you need to open your mind back up and take a look at things in a different way. So, okay. So with that said then, it's not weight loss that you want. It's what you think losing that weight is going to do for you in your life. That's what you want. Okay? So what you ask yourself is, what do I think losing this 50 pounds or 100 pounds is going to do for me? So let's go to Kathleen, who lost 150 pounds. Now, when I first talked to her a year ago, it was in, let me see, well, who knows when you're listening to this podcast, but it was October of 2018, when I first started working with her. And then she was down 144 pounds by October of 2018, a year later. So I started with her in October 2017. A year later, she was down 144 pounds. It is now January of 2019 when I'm recording this podcast, and she's down 150 pounds. Okay? Probably 151 or 2 by now. She just keeps going. She had a lot of weight to lose. She was almost 300 pounds when we started, and she's crushing it now, and she wants a little bit more. And so, but anyway, when I first met her, her question was, how do I be a happy fat person? Because she didn't know how to lose weight. And she couldn't get herself to do it because her focus was on losing weight. And that was the problem, right? If you focus on losing weight, you end up finding it. If you lose something, what do? You find it. If you lose your keys, what do you want to do? Find it, right? And so if you lose weight, what do most people do? What do 99% of people do within a year or two? They find it. And plus 5. So that's not going to cut it. Instead, I asked her, what do you want from the weight being gone? What do you think losing that weight is going to do for you? And she really had to think about it because she didn't know. Oh, I'll feel better, I'll have more energy, I'll fit better in my clothes. But those are generals, right? General standard answers everybody gives. And one of the reasons why she wasn't getting results because she really didn't know exactly why she wanted it. She didn't have a clear, big enough why. If you have a big enough why, the how will appear. And so what she started thinking was, you know what? I've had horrible self-esteem for most of my life. I never felt good enough or worthy enough. And I want to feel happy in my life. I want to feel like I love myself and I have a great relationship with myself. And being healthier, for me, losing this weight represents that I have made an investment in myself, that I am worth it. I'm like, that's what you want. You want to have a great relationship with yourself. You want to love yourself. You want to have great self-confidence. That's what you want. That's the goal, not weight loss. The goal is taking care of yourself, making deposits into your happiness every day, and building that beautiful relationship with you. That's what you want. And once you realize that, it wasn't about, oh, am I going to eat Twinkies or not today? It wasn't the struggle or the battle with sugar anymore. It was, what am I going to do to really love myself today? What's one thing that I can do that makes me feel like I am really taking care of myself and I'm really loving myself? That was an entirely different motivation than how am I going to cut calories? How do I get myself to exercise? Totally different set of resources opened up to her when our goal was clear. When the goal was love myself, build my self-confidence, take care of myself in ways that give me pleasure. Because often the second sabotage, it follows not having the right goal or focusing on the wrong problem. The next sabotage is focusing on, oh my gosh, it went right out of my head. It'll come back. The next sabotage is worrying about how, oh, I don't remember what it was now. That's crazy. Well, I'm not going to edit this out of the podcast because it just happened. We're just going to go with it until it pops into my mind. Okay, but once we ask, we're not solving the right problem, we're not asking the right question, and then we end up sabotaging ourselves in some way. I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was, but I know it'll come back. So, but anyway, I'll just keep going until it pops into my mind. So, one of the ways that we sabotage ourselves is we keep ourselves focusing on the wrong things, right? Like, how do I get myself to exercise? And the answer is you don't get yourself to exercise. But what you do instead is you say, you know what? What can I do to create a little more energy today? Well, oh, I know what it was. Thank you for allowing me to ramble until it came to mind. So what it was, oh my God. I lost it again. Maybe I will just edit this out of the podcast. Oh my gosh. Alright, hang on. I'm going to actually just have you stay here with me until it comes. Oh, okay, here it is. I'm going to say, I can't be happy until I lose the weight. Oh, thank you, Jesus. That was the sabotage. I don't know why it kept slipping out of my mind. But I want you to notice that even though I kept forgetting what it was, I believed that it was going to come to me. And then it did. You will always find your solutions if you keep believing. And I was laughing about it instead of getting all bent out of shape. So thank you for being there with me as we go through that real-time example of staying resourceful. Okay, awesome. So the sabotage is I can't be happy until the weight is gone. And that puts us in another loop, right? Because then, well, I didn't exercise today. I didn't say those affirmations. I didn't exercise, so I blew it again. So I just can't be happy, or I can't love myself, or I can't feel worthy until the weight is off. That is another huge lie. It's a big old fat lie. Okay, and we want to go stop. I'm calling BS on that again, because you can be happy no matter what weight you're at, because that's exactly what happened. Kathleen started feeling happier inside, and she was still 280 pounds, and she started feeling happier. She started saying, you know what, I can love myself right now. She just needed to learn how. She didn't have any references. She had a lot of bad examples from her past of how people treated her, and then how she treated herself. So she really didn't have a lot of examples, but we started to build them up. We started to give her some. We started to create some examples. This is me being loving to me. I'm going to be nice to myself. Or if I can't say something nice, then I'm not going to say anything. I mean, the first step might be I'm not going to berate myself anymore. And so I'm not going to walk in the mirror and say something mean. I'm just going to look in the mirror and say, times are changing. I'm getting there step at a time. And then it starts to become, I'm feeling good today. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm not saying anything negative. That's a positive step, right? That's a proactive, useful step. And then the next step might be, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm smiling at myself today. And then I look in the mirror and say, you look nice today. And then I'm going to look in the mirror and say, hey, gorgeous, or you know what, I'm feeling better today. Because all these deposits that you're making into your happiness account, many bottles of water you drink. You can control if you put more fruit on the countertop instead of crackers. Right? You can control what your pantry looks like. You can control what goes into your shopping cart. You can control how many steps you take. You can control what podcasts you listen to, like How to Be Mesmerizing with Tim Shurr. You can control all those things. So control the steps, control the things you can control. Make all those deposits, and you will start getting results. And then you're going to have something else to smile about, and then you're going to have these new references, these new things to look back on. Hey, look at what I have been accomplishing. And that is what builds confidence. Success and confidence do not come from you just saying nice things to yourself. It comes from you saying nice things, and it creates a desire to act. And then you take these actions consistently, and that produces results. It's the consistent action that makes you feel confident. The affirmations create the feeling inside, and it's the feeling that creates the actions. And that's why it's so important to say these things to yourself. It's because it creates the energy, the positive feelings. That's the juice that keeps you motivated for a lifetime. So when Kathleen started realizing that my real goal is to feel good, my problem isn't how do I stop eating junk. My real problem is how do I keep making myself feel happy for real, and not by distracting myself with eating junk food, or distracting myself with the story and the drama of why I can't lose weight and poor me. Instead, she got real clear. My real goal is how do I build this relationship with myself today? And then she started making deposits, put our plan together. We started emotionally reinforcing that. The weight started coming off. We started celebrating her successes and her milestones when she lost 5 pounds and 10 pounds and 40 pounds and 50 pounds and 80 pounds and 100 pounds and 120 pounds and 144 pounds and then 150 pounds, right? I mean, they were all milestones. But the weight was just an added bonus, because she will tell you that's more important than the weight. It's the miracle of her having this relationship with herself. And by the way, did I mention that she's in her late 60s or early 70s? I mean, that's extraordinary. Because a lot of times people say, I'm too old. Baloney. That's ridiculous, right? You're just getting warmed up. And so you just got to tell yourself a more empowering story. So I've laid a lot on you here. I've gone a lot longer than I normally do in this podcast. But there is so much powerful information that I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this to you right away. I'm not going to make you wait. I want you to have this is really good stuff. So let's review real quick here, okay? So, number 1, make sure you're solving the right problem, okay? Make sure that you're asking yourself this power question, and the question is, what do I think achieving this goal is going to do for me? Like a lot of times people say, well, I want to make more money. Well, you don't have a money issue. What you have is a mindset issue, a belief issue, right? So what do you think having that money is going to do for you? Well, it's going to make me feel more important, or it's going to make me feel safe, or it's going to give me the feeling of having more adventure, or feeling good about myself. All right, well, you can feel good about yourself. You can have more adventure. You can feel more powerful right now, and you don't need any stuff. I mean, you could just have an adventure by going out and smiling and seeing and saying hi, and see how many people smile and say hi back to you. And it can start to feel pretty powerful too if you start to realize you have the power to brighten people's day with a smile. That's powerful. You don't need $100 or $1 million to do that. Heck, I have friends that have millions of dollars, and nobody sometimes will even know. They don't dress up, they don't wear fancy clothes, but they're so nice, and that's why people love them. And that's, in fact, sometimes when they find out that they're rich, it makes it weird. I've had that many times. I don't talk a lot about money because in the past, if I've told people, that I've made a lot of money, it actually made the relationship weird. They didn't get excited about what we could do together, what they could learn, or for another role model, or someone else that did it for more inspiration. I can too. What they did was go into their head and say, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? What's my problem? How come I'm not smart enough? Right? And they're asking the wrong questions, and they're focused on solving the wrong problems. And so again, what we have to do is say, what do you think having that money will do for you? And then, all right, well, what can I do right now to feel that way without the reasons for why you can't? And then you're going to find that it opens doors in incredible ways. You will find that you might have had a problem for the last 30 years, and then all of a sudden asking yourself this kind of question in a couple of minutes, that problem literally dissolves. It literally melts away. You're like, I can't even believe this, but it's not an issue anymore, because that's not a problem that I actually needed to solve to begin with. That was never the issue. The issue wasn't changing my mother or changing my husband or changing my kids' reactions, that's not the issue. The issue is what's going on inside of me. What rules do I need to update? What perspective do I need to have? Maybe I need to realize that this person I thought was driving me crazy is actually a blessing. It's diversity. They're giving me a different point of view, or they're teaching me how to stay calm in any situation, or they're showing me what's really going on inside of me. And it's my reaction that I need to adjust, not what they do. And so I remember Wayne Dyer a long time ago in one of his audio programs said that if you're married to someone who has alcoholism and they drink that night and you get all mad at them, you're the one with a problem, right? They have alcoholism. Of course they're going to drink. That's what their brain does. Of course that's what they're going to do. You reacting like you're surprised, at this, that's your issue. Why would you be surprised? And if they told you they weren't going to do it and they did it anyway, it's because they're fighting their brain. Why would you be surprised? They've struggled with that issue forever. Solving that, you getting mad at them and them drinking, that's not the real problem. The real problem is what you want from the relationship, right? If you want them to stop drinking, what do you think that's going to do for your relationship? Because let me tell you, when I was in the hospitals and I was working in rehab and doing it, helping people with addictions, and when I was taking people to AA classes, there were plenty of times where people quit drinking and they were still an a-hole. Right? They quit drinking and they were still acting the same way that they were before. We call it a dry drunk, right? So if you think that they are going to quit drinking and then all of a sudden you're going to have a happy, fulfilled relationship, that is false. So now that might happen. That might happen. But your problem isn't that your spouse is an alcoholic. Your problem is that you want a fulfilling relationship, or you want more connection, or you want someone who you can have sex with in the bedroom, or you want a more fulfilling companion so you can go out and do things. That's what you want. You want connection or variety or companionship. So then the question becomes, okay, I don't have to change my husband or get mad when he drinks. What I need to do is ask myself, how can I have more companionship? How can I have more variety? How can I have more connection? If it's companionship, you can go create some more friends. Or maybe you need to get a divorce. Or maybe you need to go have more activities where you are hanging around like-minded people. Take some classes that are fun. So there's lots of ways to satisfy your needs and help you feel good without anybody else having to change, and often without the situation having to change. But I will tell you, as you grow and you change, often the situations do too. And sometimes that's uncomfortable, but it ends up being something that is, you'll look back and you'll say, I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have done it faster. A lot of times when we're in pain, we set ourselves up for failure by thinking we're in pain now, but it could get worse. And that associating fear and pain to the future is what keeps people stuck. You've got to associate pleasure and excitement and security to the future, and pain to staying the same so that you jump, right? As Zig Ziglar used to say, a famous motivational speaker, he says, if you take a frog and you put him in a cold frying pan, and then you just put that pan on the fire and slowly turn up the heat, that frog will sit there and just jump in it, or cook in its own juices, right? It'll just sit there and cook in its own juices. But if you heat up that frying pan first, and then you throw that frog in that hot frying pan, it's going to jump right back out because you created the heat. Right? You created enough pain for it to jump. And jumping out is what saved its life. So if it didn't have that heat, it died. And so, that heat, that pain sometimes is a blessing in disguise because it'll cause you to jump. So if you have pain in your life, appreciate it. And then start jumping. by asking yourself a better question. All right, so, I hope this helps you so much. It's really made a huge difference for me in my life and so many others, and I hope it makes a difference in yours as well. So thanks so much. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. Share this episode with your friends and anybody that you love, because it's going to make a big difference in their life as well. So now just remember, if you have a spouse or someone or a boss or somebody and you're like, you need to listen to this is just what you need, then you didn't listen clearly enough. I want you to share this with them so people benefit, but your job isn't to use this podcast to change them. It's designed for you to change yourself, right? So for you to grow. But I want you to share it as well. All right, so thanks so much. I appreciate you, and make today a sure success. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey, would you like more free tips on how to be a mesmerizing leader? Then check out mesmerizingleadership.com, and also hang out with me on Facebook, facebook.com/Tim Shurr. Thanks so much, and make your day a sure success.